Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today I want to talk to you about one of the most glorious early Baroque choral works, Biber's Missa Salisburgensis. Well, it's called that for want of a better term. No one really knows what he called it. It's also called Salzburger Domfestmesse, which is the Salzburg Cathedral Celebratory Mass. And it is an extraordinary work. We're actually not terribly sure that it's by Biber, but they did a very smart thing back in the earlier days of musicology, or the later days. Actually, it's more of a recent thing. Nobody knew exactly who wrote it, but they knew that Biber was around then. And so they said, okay, let's just say Biber wrote it. Great idea as far as I'm concerned, because that way it's attached to a major name and it's a major masterpiece, and we don't have to worry about attribution preventing it from achieving the attention that it deserves. After it was called Biber, recordings started to appear, where before it was just sort of an oddity. That's how I feel about so much Baroque organ music, too. I think we should just say Bach wrote all of it. And then, find the best stuff. Mr. Schnitzelberger, who wrote a bunch of toccatas and fugues, two of which are fabulous. Take the fabulous ones and attribute them to Bach. Yay! That way people play them and listen to them. And did Bach really write it? We don't know. I mean, one of the most famous Bach pieces whose attribution is not 100% certain is that toccata and fugue in D minor. It only exists like in a manuscript by one of Bach's pupils or something. Who knows? Who knows? But Bach got lucky. He got assigned that work, and the rest is history. So why not do the same for Biber? That's my theory about these things. Find all the great stuff that's lying around, get a name composer, and just give him the credit. I know, purists and musicologists will have a nervous breakdown, but it doesn't matter who wrote the damn thing. What matters is that we listen to it. So what is the Missa Salisburgensis? Well, this particular performance is with the Escolania de Montserrat and the Tölzer Knabenchor and Collegium Aureum under Ireneu Segarra. Yeah, and it's on Deutsche Harmonia Mundi. Now, there are a couple of recordings of this. The other famous one is Reinhard Goebel's, which I talked about. Goebel, pardon me, I don't think he has the S anymore. Anyway, his recording is really quite fine also. It's on archive, and there are a couple others too. So now it's kind of out there, but this was the one that I have to confess I just loved because I imprinted. I'm not always an imprint guy. I'm really not. But I just love this performance. It's a big work. Well, it's 43 minutes long. And here's the fun part, okay? It's written for... Well, let's add it up. It's written for 16 voices, 35 instrumental voices, 2 organs, and basso continuo. So that's like 53 parts, with your 2 organs and your basso continuo, and 16 plus 35, and add it up. And you're somewhere in the 50s. It's kind of like the Tallis Motet for 40 parts, Spem in Alium, but this has, it's a surround sound experience. You've got the organs and the lofts and the brass and the choirs, and it's quite similar in concept to pieces like, Gabrielli's polychoral works for St. Mark's Cathedral in Venice, pieces like that, or even, the Monteverdi Vespers, which has different instrumental groups dedicated to each particular part of the service for each prayer or psalm setting. And it's an extraordinarily beautiful work. It's full of festivity and fun, and you also get this hymn, Plaudite Tympana, little 5 minutes of, tympana, what those are, and there they are. So you get, it was in the same manuscript, they all come together. It's a festival mass, so there's a festival thing, pound the drums, go crazy, have a good time, it's that kind of thing. It's just a tremendous example of great early German Baroque music, and it belongs in every serious collection, and it's just one of the jewels in mine. I have a bunch of recordings of it, but I have an affection for this one, I have to confess. So there you go. That's my own personal preference. But if you get anyone else's, I'm not going to stop you. Just hear this. Just get it and listen to it. You're going to love it. It's a thrill, an absolute thrill ride. Tremendous. They were doing a lot of cool things in Salzburg, even before Mozart got there, And this is one of the actual date for this thing, by the way. Well, it doesn't have the date here. Let me just tell you before we sign off, because I just think you should get a sense of it. It was... Oh, here we go. Well, it's in German. Now it's in French, so if you could find it in English. It's 16-something. I mean, that much I know. Here we go. Yes, they talk about St. Mark's, 1614, bloopity-bloopity-bloop. During the 17th century, the Missa Salisburgensis has 53 parts. Yes. Okay, so we got 53 parts. And, let's see. Let's see, what is this? It doesn't even say. Isn't that wonderful? It doesn't tell you. It was also attributed at one point to Orazio Benevoli. But you see, nobody gives a damn about Orazio Benevoli. They care about Biber. So why not? Oh, wait a minute. The score was recovered in Salzburg in the 1780s. And do they tell us anything about what year? No, they do not. Well, okay, here we go. They claim around 1628. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all. Well, let's forget it. I just, don't have the patience to worry about it. It's 17th century. Really good 17th century. Let's just call it that. It's enough already, because Biber's dates were not that. So I don't want to be any more confusing than I have to be. It's called the Missa Salisburgensis. It's by Biber or not. Who cares? Just listen to it. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.